Welcome back to Vlogging with Mark. I want to tell you about what's coming up for the next several weeks. We're going to begin a new series this coming Sunday. It's going to be talking about Jesus in the Psalms. Now, if you're familiar with biblical history, Jesus incarnate, Jesus in the flesh, the Jesus we're introduced to in the New Testament, was by far much later than the writing of the Psalms. But we understand biblically that Jesus, the author of Scripture itself, is eternal, and therefore, as the psalmists were writing, they had Jesus in mind. One of the greatest psalmists of all time was David, the shepherd. As we know, he was a great shepherd. He cared for his sheep. He was also a king. He was also a musician, very talented man who was a man after God's own heart, as Scripture calls him, and he wrote these psalms. We're going to be going through Psalms, a few of them over this next month as we lead in to Easter time, thinking about what it means to see Jesus in those Psalms. How do we find the foretelling of Jesus' life all the way back in those Psalms written hundreds of years before his arrival here on the earth? So I encourage you to come in for this time on Sunday, as well as the next few Sundays as we study Jesus in the Psalms. Thanks for watching. As promised, we're going to be talking about Jesus in the Psalms. I'm really excited about heading toward Easter, and one of the great ways we do that is by looking how Jesus is involved in the Psalms. And by involved in the Psalms, we really mean that in two ways. One, we find out in Scripture, Jesus is the author of all Scripture. So before he's incarnate, before Jesus is flesh, he's involved in the verbal inspiration of the Scriptures. We also see Jesus' life portrayed hundreds of years before it took place in the Psalms. So this coming week, we're going to be talking about particularly Psalm 1, 2, and 3. And in Psalm 1, 2, and 3, we see the psalmist talking about a man, a king, and a servant. A man, a king, and a servant. If we read carefully into those passages, we find out that we can see Jesus being shown to us ahead of time in chapter 1, focusing on the manhood of Jesus. Theology tells us accurately, based on Scripture, that Jesus, while fully God, when he came to earth, was also fully man. So we're going to get a look at what it means in the Psalm 1 to see that Jesus, in addition to being fully God, was fully man. And then in Psalm 2, we're going to be looking at his kingship, that Jesus, fully man, fully God, comes to reign as king. He did this in a very unexpected way in the first century, and we understand that he is going to return again and reign as King of Kings. And we'll see that spelled out in a foreshadowing way in Psalm 2. And then Psalm 3, very much like Isaiah, we're going to find a portrayal of Jesus as a suffering servant, as one who will suffer for his people. Christians understand that spelled out most clearly in the passion story of Jesus, as we look into most clearly in the weeks leading up to Easter with the crucifixion. Prior to that, we're going to see how this was told to the readers as early as Psalm 3. So I encourage you to come be a part of this as we look in the Psalms to find Jesus described as man and king and suffering servant. It's going to be a great journey going through the Psalms. Come prepared, read ahead, and join us on Sunday. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday.